down, or something. Not working right.
Yeah, I hate that.
a major organ.
Yeah,
They're gonna pass me the gavel?
you need
Okay.
that one.
Okay. Workshop commission meeting 6:00 p.m. Wednesday, February 26, 2025. Pledge of allegiance, please. Oh, sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, and justice for all. Roll call.
Commissioner Jacobs? Acting Clerk Hashem?
Yes.
Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins?
He's here.
Yes.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Morissette?
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, perfect. Are there any deletions or withdrawals to the agenda? No.
None.
Okay.
None.
5.1, presentations. Everybody has a copy of the proclamations. 6.0, committee reports. Mark, do you have a committee report? No, ma'am. Okay, good. Okay, here. Wait, Mark, I'm sorry, I'm gonna switch 6.1 to 8.1 right quick, sorry. 8.1, Mark. Hold on. Okay. I just want to make sure you don't miss that. I'm going to do 8.1 and 8.7, okay?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Mark Bakula, IT Director. The first item is 8.1 Beehive, or is that?
No, 8.1 is the Civ Plus.
Civic Plus, okay. That is a renovation of our website. It's with the same company we use now. We plan on going with a brand new platform. One of the things it's going to do is give everybody access in the town and their departments, but it's very much built out on the back end to make it easy to update and not mess it up. We're looking to revamp the whole thing. We've gotten competitive bids. This was one of the best bids that we had, and we'd like to move forward with renovating the town's website.
Are there any questions?
Is there going to be any downtime?
No, we're going to work on it on the whole back end, and then once it's been approved, we just flip it over. So there's no downtime, but we can all work on it, get our input, everybody get, in their particular departments what they'd like it to be, and especially the front page, the functionality of it. And if the commissioners have any specific things they would like seen, email me. The best thing I tell people is look at a web page from another city. Let me know about the functionality of something you like, and we can try to incorporate it.
Yeah,
All right.
I like Pompanos, Deerfield Beach.
Yeah, I think one of the ones you had shown me was actually the new website platform.
Yeah, so I like theirs for their parks department. So I want to steal their model. Okay, so if that's good, then we'll put that on consent. And then 8.7 Beehive.
Yes, Beehive is for primarily our Public Works Department. What this is going to do is going to give us asset inventory and control, but more the bigger thing it's going to be doing is going to give Stanley and his team a way to really quantify everything they do with prices, labor, parts, things like that. He can forecast out jobs, forecast out work that's going to be done throughout the town, and it'll give them real-time updates on it as everything's being done. Once again, this is also with Civic Plus.
Okay, perfect. Okay, if there's no questions, we'll put that on consent.
Who's going to be in control of getting our bids out on time?
Our bids, what do you mean?
When Public Works or something we need bids and stuff like the town for, who's going to be in control of that?
Well, we have are you talking about the new Sophia Nelson? Yeah, I mean, Sophia Nelson has taken over that area right now, and I worked on her with a couple of contracts. She's gotten them done and taken care of. If that's what you mean. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have someone in place doing all that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. So that's on consent as well. Okay. David, you have all my stuff, right? I can go? Or-
Yes, I do. Yes, Mayor, I do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mark.
Better.
Thank you. I know my ice has melted.
Oh, boy.
And it feels miserable.
Feel better.
All right. 8.2, please state your name and...
Hi, Evan Ross with Public Communicators Group. I know I've spoken with some of you, been working with the manager on this for a little while, and we've come up with something that we think will allow us to help the town move forward, create a more positive image, be able to promote the good things that are happening here in a much more comprehensive way than the piecemeal approach we've taken for the last couple of years. So I'm here to answer any questions if you have, and looking forward to continue working with Pembroke Park.
It's, I think it's very positive that we get a better communication with our citizens, and in conjunction with 8.1 here, the Civic Plus, that you could work with the our own website to as part of your communication system. They need to have a better experience of interacting with us.
Who has the cost information on this?
I have it right here. It's on the proposed contract. It's $12,500 a month on this contract, and I've discussed this with Mr. Ross pretty significantly. And there's a host of services that are on the front page of the contract, which was in your backup documentation. But I do want to point out, Commissioner Hodgkins, that there is a cancellation clause here, and I believe that it's a 60-day cancellation clause. So while this is a big lump sum, and we've talked about the fact of what we need and what we don't need, some of the value that I see in this is not so much the things that we cover and don't cover, but the things that we push out into the public that we can't push out into the public right now by virtue of our communications with the different media groups. Basically, we need an inside man or woman that has relationships with the media, so that the media portrayal of our community stops being animosity and argumentation, but starts to be the new idea that you presented regarding, for example, that land behind Channel 10, where we're sort of cleaning up that contract. And now that's a positive story. It has nothing to do with an event that we have, but it's Channel 10 saying the folks in Pembroke Park are cleaning up some unknowns as it relates to a piece of property, and this will protect the city in the future. Everything we do on a positive, we probably do 100 positive things every single day in this building. Public doesn't know about it, they don't hear about it, but if we can let them know about it, and one of the other things that Evan brings to the table that I've noticed, and that is when things do happen that are difficult to describe or problematic, it gives him an opportunity to create a filter so that the story that seems really, really bad about something that happened in our community just merely comes across as the city positively dealing with a bad event, instead of the idea that, oh, there's another bad thing that happened in Pembroke Park. So his services really is to help provide that filter. And quite frankly, I've noticed since I arrived here 6 months ago that we've needed that filter. If it turns out, and our observation is, that we need to scale this back or cancel it or change it, we have a 60-day opportunity to do that. So I consider this to be a risk-free opportunity for a lot of positive return. And I'm hoping that we can all agree to send this off at least to the consent agenda and then deal further with it on March 13th if there are any other questions. That's my hope, at least.
I actually think it's a lot of money for a public relations person. We would never pay that kind of money to somebody that we employed as an employee to do that type of job.
So if I can address that, I'll give you some
I hate
context.
to address it by about $80,000.
I'll give you some context quoting a manager from another city we work for. When I had asked him for a quote for something we were submitting in another city in the last few months, and the quote he gave me, I'm paraphrasing, said what we've provided to their city is what it would take 7 to 10 employees to provide in that particular city. Now, that's a much larger contract than this one. But what we do is we take the things you need that you would never hire people full-time for because you don't have enough need for full-time people, and we give you the amount that you do need. So as an example, you wouldn't hire a full-time videographer or photographer to work for the town because you couldn't justify paying someone a full-time salary and benefits for that. So with us, you'll have them when you need them. You wouldn't hire somebody in-house to do public relations on a full-time basis because most of the time they wouldn't have enough work to do. Same thing goes with your graphic design, with your social media, putting together a newsletter, which is something I know the manager is very excited about doing to be able to communicate better with the residents. All of these things that we do, we're able to provide for you at a high level of quality without you having to spend the money that it takes to hire people in-house for them.
Are you involved in the newspaper that comes out in West Park?
I'm not. I'm familiar with it. It's a friend of mine who actually publishes it for them. But I'm not with West Park. I'll also flag, as the manager was talking about positive opportunities, one of them was right here in front of us tonight, as Pembroke Park has its first collective bargaining agreement with its police department. That's something positive that we should be pushing out, making sure that people understand the stability that now exists in the police department. When I was first brought in, it was former manager Jimenez's last week, and he brought me in to deal with a not so positive situation going on. And we've come a long way from there. It's a great story to tell. You've got great leadership in the police department now that's stabilized and professionalized it. I know we're working through the process for accreditation. So there are all of these great stories to tell in Pembroke Park, and the best way to do it is to tell those stories ourselves, because we can get the news cameras here for some of them, as we did, for example, for the turkey pardoning, where we got lots of coverage. But for the most part, the news cameras show up when something's bleeding or controversial or, someone's raising their voice. They don't show up to tell the stories about the stabilization of a police department. They don't show up to tell the stories about the new infrastructure you're putting in. They don't show up to tell the stories about all of the positive things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis in Pembroke Park. It becomes our job to tell those stories and to make sure that we deliver those messages to your residents and to the broader public, so that Pembroke Park's reputation benefits from it, and so that Pembroke Park's residents know what's being done with their tax dollars and what they can avail themselves of that's being offered by the town.
That's a very good spiel.
Yeah,
How many other towns are you doing?
I think we're at 8 cities right now.
So you're doing 8 cities, and how big is your group?
So it varies. We have some people that are in-house. Not all of our cities are at this scale. Some of them are as needed, which is what Pembroke Park has been for the last couple of years, where we just get called if they need something. Other ones we're just doing video production for. Some of them we're doing their crisis communications. It's a whole mix depending on the city.
I don't think you answered my question. How many people do you have in your organization?
It's not a simple answer. We have some that are full-time on staff. We have some that are part-time, some that are contractors. It depends on the field. So for example, the videographer you've seen here for some of your events is full-time with us. We have a full-time video editor. I handle all of the media side myself. That's my bread and butter. I do the vast majority of the writing. We have someone that works for us on a part-time basis, for example, to do photo editing. The video editing we do in-house, photo editing, I have somebody who's contracted to do that.
I see.
I can give you an example, and that's I have met residents that they live in Pembroke Park, but they don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. They don't know they live in Pembroke Park. They know they live on South Park Road or whatever. They have no clue. So that's how poorly we've been communicating in the past.
One thing I also want to point out, the proposal addressed a single annual printed newsletter. The manager's conveyed that he wants to do that potentially as a quarterly item. So we would amend the proposal to do that quarterly, not just the once a year that's in it.
I noticed that people like Beam Fur and stuff like that, they put something out basically once a month or even more often, and they have it out there in the public so everybody can see it and make sure that it's, they know what's going on in their town. And I don't see why we couldn't have more communication than that. I think we should be doing something like that, especially like after we have a meeting like this, we can let the public know what transpired at the meeting, what the important bullets are. in in the situation, what
So
was going on. So.
That's exactly what we want to do with this, and it's just a balance of how we do it to be cost effective. So the most expensive way to communicate is to print and mail. So we don't want to do that necessarily every month because it comes at a much more substantial cost to the town. But what we have in here is to do a monthly digital newsletter so that people can get it by email. It'll also be posted online so people can access it. We typically do those in a format that was created by a news outlet called Axios. Called Smart Brevity. And I often give clients and I give everyone who works for me a book on it, which I call the Bible of Modern Communication. And it's designed to adjust for the modern short attention span so that people are able to get the most important information in a very short snippet. And then if they want to go further, they can click in to go further. But they'll know the substance of what they need to know very quickly, something that somebody can skim and be through in less than 5 minutes.
Okay, so you have a 60-day buffer in this contract, correct?
Yep,
So if we see we're not getting our money's worth,
absolutely. We're always at will in that regard, and we certainly want to make sure that you're happy with everything that we're doing, and we hope to be here for a very long time.
all right, thank you, Evan.
My pleasure.
Commissioner Jacobs, you had any questions to 8.2?
No, I got a couple comments just for the commissioners because you guys are probably completely unaware. But during COVID, we took documentation of every resident coming through, which included their email. So we have stacks and stacks and stacks of this documentation. I had asked multiple times for it to be put into a spreadsheet and updated so we could send out digital newsletters instead of sending them out through the mail. The town clerk did not want to do that. And former town clerk did not want to do that and proceeded to do the print newsletters to our 2 zip codes. The town of Pembroke Park, we don't have if we had a post office annex, which I've worked diligently trying to get here in the town, we would have our own postal code here for the town of Pembroke Park. Unfortunately, we do not. We have 2 zip codes here, which means majority goes to the Hollandale Beach and the other goes to West Park and part of Hollywood for the 2 zip codes. So mailing things out through that process was extremely expensive, and the majority of it went to people that don't live here in the town.
Yeah.
So, and then the unique living situation we have here in the town, we have seasonal residents, 15,000 in the winter months and 6,800 or so during full time. It's a lot of it is, just gets thrown out on the printed copy. So going digital was really the most logical and cost effective way to go about this. I tried diligently to get that done, and it fell through the cracks here forever. So reading through this contract, that's the right way to go, is a monthly digital newsletter sending out, and we have a majority of the email addresses for not just our business owners, but we have for residents as well. So we have that information. It just needs to be put together and utilized appropriately.
That's the whole idea with this and the Civic Plus, where we get a new website that's a lot more interactive, modern, and so we can get some more traffic over our own website, because right now nobody cares about that old-fashioned look.
That was actually Commissioner Hodgkins and myself put that into place here with Commissioner DeVol just 3 years ago, because the town's antiquated website was your typical 90s 5-page style website. But I will tell you, no one really cares about the town website. The only thing they really care about, if you start to look at the metadata that goes with it and do all the research into it, you can have the $100,000 website. People don't care about the website. The only things they care about on there is, one, access to the building department to be able to upload documents, couple little small features on it. There's no reason to invest
But we talked
lots of money into overhauling a website that will not get used. It's just a continued waste of resources here in the town. So if we use the data of what we have, the metadata we already have in place for the website, you can see where people are going, how long they stay on each page, and what they're actually doing when they come to the site. You would be shocked how few people come to it. It's not residents.
Oh, I'm
so-
fully aware of it, and this one of the talking points that Evan had is that we need to use social media to get the attention, and then link it to our website so people get the right information. So that we use a modern approach to get people to use the facility.
Right. The website's a great place to host information, but most of the time people won't go to the website looking for regular updates. If we use other mechanisms like a monthly digital newsletter to push them out, then we can link back to the website where it's, here's the information that we think you need, but if you want to know more, click this and it'll take you to the website where you can get a more in-depth look.
Exactly. That's why I brought up the Beam Fur letter that he
Yep.
puts out. I said it not only lets you know what's going on in town, but it also directs you, say, you want to know more about this,
Yep. And one of the things we make a point of being careful with in all of our agreements is that we don't want to set limitations. So the way we word things, we're very careful. If you have a crisis situation that we need to come in and help you deal with, it doesn't matter if I need to be here for an hour or for a week, all day and night. If there's a public relations issue to work on, we don't sit there and punch a clock and go, you're out of time. This doesn't restrict the time that we put in. We do whatever it takes to get the job done and get it done right for
We
you.
won't expect you to work more than 100 hours.
Does Commissioner Kashim have any comments or questions on this?
Commissioner Kashem?
Mr. Chairman, can we move this to consent?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you all very much. And I think most of you have my contact information. If you don't, the manager can provide it. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
James?
David, you'll get that for me? Thank you.
All right, let's move on to 8.3, consideration and approval to update authorized signatories for the town's account and financial transaction. That will be Finance Director Davermann. Welcome, James.
Yes, hello, Commissioner. Good afternoon, good evening, Commissioners. James Davermann, Finance Director, Town of Pembroke Park. I'm here to take any questions.
I have none.
I don't have any.
Great.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Move that to consent, Mr. Chairman?
Please do.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're up, Cynthia. 8.4, approval.
Yeah, approval of town minutes for December 2nd of 2024. We will be current. Can we move that to consent agenda?
Move to consent.
Okay.
Great.
All right, move to
Stan?
consent. 8.5, consideration and approval of bid award to RG Underground for RFP 2406R for Southwest 30th Street Sanitary Sewer for main replacement and authorization to enter into agreement. Public Service Director Stanley Morantis.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Commission. I come before you to ask we're recommending RG Underground Engineering, who have outscored all the other three contractors that submitted proposals. And all I'm asking for this evening here is for your approval to go ahead and proceed with RG Underground for the Southwest 30th Street Sanitary Sewer Force Main Replacement Project.
Move to consent.
Yeah, move to consent.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moranis.
Thank you.
8.6, Town Manager Lynch.
Yeah, this is the First Amendment to an easement agreement. And Commissioner Hodgkins and I, we have sort of been battling together because of this property that's located behind Channel 10. And Commissioner Hodgkins, unless you have any other comments, which I'm sure you do, I wanted to defer to the town attorney for a moment to let us kind of learn about what this is.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. And just for the record, there's a lot of history here which predates both the manager and myself. but there's a piece of vacant property behind the Channel 10 site, which had been the subject of, I believe, an adjacent development, where for the past number of years, the developer's been staging certain equipment on the town's property. You may recall we had done some title work on the property to find out both the ownership and encumbrance history, as well as the mechanism by which the developer was actually placing their equipment and using our property for their development purposes. There was an easement that was entered into between the town and the developer back in 2020, which did provide for the use of the vacant property by the developer. There were some conditions that needed to be satisfied in order for the easement to lapse, primarily having to do with the issuance of certificates of occupancy for some of the associated development. I know the managers had some conversations with the developer, and the easement amendment that's before you this evening is an outgrowth of those conversations. What this does is it will essentially give the town, upon 90 days' notice, the ability to vacate the developer. I mean, Commissioner Hodgkins had raised the issue with regards to the status of the property, what's happening at that location, and essentially what can be done to clear the property of all of the equipment that's been stored there and enable the town to go back in and reclaim what is in fact town property. Based on the amendment, this will give us 90 days' notice. Upon that notice, they're required to vacate the property, return it to a usable condition for the town. There were, and Commissioner Hodgkins can speak to it better than I can, but my understanding is there were some improvements to the lot with regards to grading and some other activity that was done to the benefit of the town. That would all stay the same. This would simply return return the property to the town in a vacant condition upon 90 days' notice, so we can use it as we see fit.
And I'd like to add to that, I'm going to have have our code department go down there and ask them, they already kind of agreed to it, to put up a fence on the perimeter of the property on the street side, because they had some pretty unsightly stuff there at one time. After I spoke to them, they actually got rid of a lot of it. Excuse me. So now the lot's fairly clean, but there's still a lot of equipment stored there. But the whole thing is maybe get some kind of a temporary fence up there, so when you're driving by it, it doesn't look so bad. And they've agreed to do that, so hopefully we can see that in the future.
Yeah, and again, irrespective of the status of any development that the developer happens to be involved in, this would not require anything other than the town's notice to clear them off of our property.
Yeah, I have visited the site with Aline, and it was, as Mr. Hodgkins says, very unsightly.
Just one brief note, because it hasn't really been really clear. This property was a problem because it was conveyed to the town, and then we discovered that the person that conveyed it to the town could continue to use the property almost indefinitely, and Commissioner Hodgkins detected the problem. I didn't know that this problem existed.
Yeah, I saw no evidence of anything that would benefit the town whatsoever. There was none.
Well, and again, but for the fact that the manager had directed us to do title work, we would never know the existence of that easement or what tool the developer was using to currently occupy the location.
And so for 9 years, we didn't get any tax money out of this property.
Okay, can we agree to, if we have no more discussions, that we can put it on to consent?
Yeah, I'd like to move it to consent.
Okay.
All right, so we are finished with 8.7, so we can move on to discussion. 9.1, discussion and possible action for hire on fire hydrants. That will be Town Manager Lynch and Chief Kane, please.
Yeah, Chief
Welcome
Kane has a brief presentation, Mr. Chairman, and it was an eye-opener because I'm not sure what initiated our discussion, but he mentioned the difficulty with the hydrants, and I asked him, well, can you get me a report or a survey on this? He said, well, that may take a few months. I had that report from the chief in about 10 days, and I'm really delighted that he did that, and I'm going to turn the dais over to the chief.
That was definitely an issue. I took my car and drove around the neighborhood and yeah, there are problems.
There is. Good evening, Vice Mayor, Mr. Manager, Commission, Battalion Chief Michael Kane, Broward Sheriff's Office Fire Rescue. We can go right to one of the images, if we could, and then I could better discuss the issue at hand. So I have for demo purposes two of the mobile home parks. One specifically, which I'll use.
Yeah,
This is a good one.
Yeah, that's-
to use as a demonstration. So, as you can see, the fire hydrants are marked in red, and to the upper right corner of that image, you'll see the mobile home park. I want to say that might be Lone Pine, but I'm not 100% certain.
It's Lakeshore.
It's Lakeshore. Thank you, sir. Lakeshore. So as you can see, there is not a fire hydrant inside that mobile home park. The issue for us is when we arrive for a structure fire inside that mobile home park, we have to drop a line, a supply hose at the nearest hydrant. You can see where that is in the middle left side, and then drive our truck to as close as we can get to the structure fire within the development. We carry 1,000 feet of supply line, and that does not allow us to get to the far side of that mobile home park. It far exceeds that length. So what we have to do is we have to drop a line in the street, we actually pull up as far as we can, hand pull the line as far as we can close to the hydrant, and then the next incoming engine will then secure the water supply at the hydrant and then supply additional hose to our hose. Now, we can't carry more hose because our trucks are only built to support that length of hose, which is a standard supply, a standard supply length of hose, about 1,000 feet. So optimally and ideally, a hydrant inside the development would be the best case scenario, whether it be connected to a municipal water source, water supply, or even if that water supply is managed through the water in the lake and then have a jockey pump, which would then supply pressure to be able to pump the truck. So that would be two opportunities, ideal opportunities to provide the best level of service of fire suppression to that community.
I have a question for you, Chief. On the other side to the east, you have Lyons Road, and I saw there was a whole line of hydrants there.
True.
Would that be possible to make an extension from a hydrant to underneath that fence? 'Cause I see you have access doors through these fences.
So I'm not the right person to ask because that requires an engineering's expertise, which I do not have. I guess theoretically you possibly could, but again, you probably have to get somebody more of an expert in water supply to be able to answer that for you. But that would make sense. But ideally, there should be several hydrants. Generally, if you were to drive up any modern street, you would find hydrants about every 500 feet. They're quite close to one another, several blocks at most, distance-wise. And the reason why they're at 500 feet is because most fire departments carry 1,000 feet of hose. So regardless of where that structure fire is on that street, it will enable you to be able to access the closest hydrant, and if need be, if that hydrant is defective, the next closest hydrant, usually in the opposite direction of the structure, and they're going to be within 500 feet of the structure or closer.
Chief Kane, let me help you out real quick.
Yes, sir.
The last 6 years, I've sat up here complaining that the mobile home parks do not have fire hydrants in them. I have brought it up multiple times. The previous commissioners here before us did not want to address it. When the three of us were here, we had so much we were dealing with, and we brought this up again when we brought up the fire fee, which is a pass-through tax to take out of the ad valorem. This was a whole point to remove that out, and that was a whole part of the process that I brought up before, and to put these fire hydrants in the 16 mobile home parks that we have. Chief Kane, you may remember, during a commission meeting, I sat on my patio and started smelling smoke. We had a mobile home in Green Acres catch fire. By the time I jumped over the fence to go over there, the thing was glowing red. You had, 6, 7 engines out there and hoses drug completely down Hollandale Beach Boulevard trying to provide water into the mobile home park. This is an ongoing safety problem here in the town. that the commission has never wanted to address, but fire hydrants need to be installed in every single one of these mobile home parks.
I totally agree. We cannot have a Hollywood fire here. I mean, that's unacceptable, the way that the lack of resources they have in California. And we have the water here, so let's put this. I saw in my park, we have a access point that sticks out of the ground. I reckon the underground to the lake.
I think what you're referring to is a drafting well that is not connected to any type of a pump. Basically, we would suction the water from that. But again, they can get clogged, and they're not a very effective, in today's modern age, they're not very effective as a water supply source, especially in an urban environment. We have water everywhere. We're not in a rural environment where we're miles away from a water source, or where we're drafting from pools or drafting from lakes and then filling tanks and then shuttling water back and forth, which they do in very rural communities. We are in a very opportunistic environment because we are in an urban infrastructure, an urban environment. We have hydrants on every street corner. Unfortunately, we don't have them where we need them the most. And where we need them the most is in the mobile home parks because they're the biggest threat. A mobile home is not like your regular, a structure like a CBS-built home. These are more like vehicles, more or less. They're very thin in construction. There's not much protecting the inside environment from the outside environment. A couple of pieces of aluminum and some insulation, really. You could put your hand through it. It only takes seconds for a mobile home park to become fully engulfed in flames, as I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have seen that, at some point.
Eric,
Yeah, we can't risk it.
Bill and I spent $80,000 to have a study done, and the town has a study that was done for our, again, it comes to the fire fee, but this is involved in part of that study. I'm sure you can get it from the town manager, town clerk.
Yeah,
if
let's
you'd like
move
to read
ahead
it.
with this. This is what we're here for.
It's a safety issue.
Safety issue, and we have to deal with it. And I appreciate it's been brought to our attention.
There was somebody in my park who actually started up their heater after not using it for like a year or something like that.
Yeah, and the dust.
The mobile home caught fire, and the place burned. They lost their home.
There was dust in
It
the
was
AC.
not salvageable, and this was like a few years back. But now the park, in turn, makes us have fire protection insurance, and because the owner of the park ended up having to clean up the mess. Because the people didn't have a home, they didn't have any money, they were out.
Yeah, and then, one last thing to leave you with, too, is, if you take any one of those mobile homes that are sandwiched between two adjacent mobile homes, you have the possibility of all three of those mobile homes going up in flames if one should catch fire, because it's zero lot line, and there's not much protection between the two.
Does the state...
It's 10 feet, 10 feet.
Thank you, sir. 10 feet. 10
5 feet to the middle.
Not much. You can pretty much put your hand from one to the next.
Does the state have any kind of resource that can be implemented to help us get the permissions? You need permission to put a... You can't
Well, they're
just go-
privately owned. I would imagine that the only permission required would be that of the landowner,
That's
in my
right.
opinion.
What if they don't want to do it?
I don't know. There might be
'Cause you're
case law that requires them to do it.
Commissioner, I think this body has the authority to pass some safety ordinances which require the owner of the park itself to allow us to have access to the right-of-way and easements that we need, because it's a matter of life and death and safety.
But we own all the sewer systems inside
Yeah,
the
but
mobile park, so
also
we
the
might as
fire
well.
inspector would have that authority.
Yeah, we're not letting up on this. I asked the chief to come today because in the wake of everything that happened in California, when the chief called to my attention, I thought to myself, how can we possibly be responsible as a local government if we don't do something now? None of us want to be the ones that are Monday morning quarterbacks saying, gee, I wish we had addressed this issue when a disaster befalls. And with these structures so close to each other, the fire leaping from one structure to another and wiping out hundreds of families at one time is almost inevitable if we don't do something. So,
With the live oak trees that are all dried. And
Can we have a
bad.
It's just discussion at this point.
No, I don't think there's any disagreement here. I'd just like to hear Commissioner Kashim, if you have any.
Just make a recommendation for them to go forward to come up
Yeah,
with this.
I want to hear if she has any comments.
Yeah, possibly you need to have a meeting get the park owners all together and have a meeting.
Commissioner Kashan?
Something that simple, you know.
No comments?
Commissioner Kashan?
We'll develop a plan, Mr. Chairman, in conjunction with the fire department,
Yeah.
and one that will solve the problem. But
Yeah,
we'll
but-
develop that and present it to you.
We need to move ahead with this.
If you need us to attend any HOAs going forward, we're more than willing and able to attend along with the town.
No, you started the process, and I've been out there on my own looking, and I say, yeah, there's an issue. I totally agree. Let's move on with it.
Let me say I do appreciate everybody's bringing this to
Thank you
the
so
attention of the public, and I appreciate that.
I
Thank
think
you.
you did a great job there,
I
Chief.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Well, it's a partnership, and I appreciate it.
Eric, can I make a recommendation? We move
Yes.
9.2 through 9.6. Table those. Those are all the mayor's items.
Yeah.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, if I can, I just want to say a brief word about each one of those, because the mayor asked me to, because she wasn't feeling well and had to depart the premises. Can I have an opportunity to do that?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. The community center, the mayor is interested in the idea that we not only deal with Linear Park, which comes up as 9.6, and we've discussed that a lot with Commissioner Morissette in particular, but that on 9.2, that we look at the idea of developing an eventual plan for some kind of community center that's located at Preserve Park, which is for the general use of the entire community. 9.3 will merely appear on the March 13th agenda for commemoration of an event that the mayor has found beneficial throughout the country, which is a play ball national event.
Uh-huh. Where's your thoughts here?
Yeah, well, anyhow, 9.4, the mayor has encountered a program where we can get townwide banners. You see a lot of banners dedicated to veterans and different kinds of heroes, high school kids. And there's a program out there which doesn't cost the city anything, in which the banners actually pay for themselves through sponsorship. So our
It's
intention.
akin to the PR department.
Yeah, so that will be coming forward. The climate action plan is, and there wasn't, I think, a backup attached to that, and that was just merely to take into consideration some of the climate considerations and the different things that we do as a general policy. 9.6 was the structure over at Linear Park, which we've talked a lot about. The service director's here, but as you know from our prior conversations, he's had some engineers take a look at that, and our plan is to move forward with to getting that thing up and running again. And
Repair the most.
well, we're
Way to go.
not sure. We've got different options, including bringing in some kind of new mobile location. However, the engineers are telling us that the bones of that building are pretty good.
Yeah, I looked at.
So-
I don't see no.
So in all
termite.
likelihood, that will be the best option. But we'll be presenting that, and that might get into our discussion as it relates to the ARPA plan. 9.8 is the plan that was presented by Game Time. I'm sorry, that wasn't a mayor item, so I think I'm jumping ahead. But if,
No, it's but go ahead because it's on you
Okay.
anyway. 9.8.
9.8, Game Time made a presentation to this body about having some equipment come forward, and a representative of Game Time is here, but time is short, but ma'am, if you want to come forward and just give us a couple of remarks about what was presented to the commission and what you're hoping that will do.
Okay,
Thank you. Please state your name. Welcome to.
thank you. Good evening, Natalia Cuervo with Game Time. Actually represent Dominica Recreation Products. We're the exclusive distributors for Game Time. It's a nationwide company. And I was here, just a quick history, here about 2.5 years ago to present a proposal for the Preserve Park Playgrounds. And we were making good headway. At the time, it was put on pause. But I remember, yeah, I remember some of you, so good. Thank you for that. But I'm back. I had a meeting with David Lynch, and we were just trying to explore the possibility to revisit the option again, to take a look at the Preserve Park. I had already had the measurements, the proposals, everything, and we were happy to present that pricing has not gone up very much from 2 years ago for the proposals. And that's just an example of what we did at the time for a 2 to 5, a 5 to 12, and then the kid course area that you have over there. And the total for those 3 playground areas, whether it's with wood fiber or PIP, which we would much rather keep the existing rubber surface that you have now, for all 3 of those came out to $210,000. Okay, this is just a sample of what we can do, but mainly Game Time can just revise all of this again as we have grown and in hearing you all about the social media. Game Time is very inclusive and data driven to provide national demonstration sites, which can then give you a whole report based on the usage, how long the kids are playing, social engagement, and it gives an array at no cost of data reports to validate the investment that you have made to the community. So that is something that is a unique differentiator we can provide. In order to do that, we would need to revise the proposal because we have to incorporate social development criteria such as brachiating, balancing, spinning, all the different criteria that really promote social engagement to the kids. But with that said, that is a valuable point that we can, again, revisit. I've also walked through the fitness trail. A lot of those pieces are missing, broken, rusted. And I had also done a walkthrough of every single piece. We do have a proposal on that. But it's just, again, I'm here to present the importance of what we can do for the community to engage and promote inclusivity for the community. So if there's any questions, we are proud sponsors of the Omnia Partners Piggyback Contract, which gives a 24% discount, which is a much higher discount than if you were to go through the bidding process at the marketplace. We work with cities and references all over South Florida. So just wanted to get your insight and your...
Let me give them a little background. So Hurricane Matthew hit in 2016. Our failure on behalf of the town, they didn't take the awning down. The awning got destroyed over the play equipment. And then the insurance paid out somewhere around $50,000 for a new cover for the playground equipment, which the money never got reused and put back in to put a cover. We don't know where the money went. We'll just leave it at that. Don't know where the money went. 2016 is 3 years before I was here. So the park or playground equipment never got the coverage back on it. So all the new playground equipment we had in the town has been destroyed by the sun to where it is no longer usable or even fun for the kids to play on. The kids that do come to the park are only on it for a very short amount of time.
Yeah, there's no shade, so
I went to this is when we found out from the state that the town was 30 years non-compliant for the park. I went up to Tallahassee. I met with them up there. Our lobbying firm and our grant writer scheduled me an appointment. I went up with the state, said, listen, I'll do what it takes to get the town back in compliance. There was an eco-environmental tower that the town was required to put in the middle of the town. I like to refer to it as a sniper tower because that's what it would be used for. It's something that does not fit in a community park anymore. Maybe at the time when they were looking at it 30, 40 years ago, that was a thing. There's one down on the beach in Hollywood.
Yeah,
Go to
that's
the
gone.
top of it. You can overlook the beach down there.
No, it's gone. It's gone.
It's down now?
Yeah, it's dismantled.
Okay.
North Hollywood Beach is gone.
But that was required to be put here in the town. So I talked to them up at the state and put a whole plan together. So we had an entire plan put together to get our town park back into compliance before Eric, you got here to the commission. Bill was part of this. I worked really hard to put a whole plan together to revitalize our park. And we worked with this lady here, brought presentation after presentation forward to bring in, you remember all of this. We went through this and worked hard to bring the town, one, the park back into compliance, and two, to revitalize the park. If you look at the reviews online, everyone says we have an absolutely beautiful park. We do. but it's boring because there's absolutely nothing to do there. So my kids and I and my wife, we went around to about 30 different parks around different cities, Broward, Miami-Dade. We went to parks over on the West Coast. We went to parks just to see what they had done. We brought all this information back and put a plan together to revitalize our park. That's what was handed over to Mosfika when she sat down here and got on the dais. For the last 2 years, we've progressed nowhere with it.
Oh, okay.
It was all that work was put together for absolutely nothing, for it just to sit stagnant for 2 years. And our park still has, it's got the tot lot. The tot lot's okay, but it doesn't have anything else for any kid that's over the age of, say, 3 or 4 years of age to
No,
really enjoy the park.
And simple things like a splash pad or something, it's very affordable.
Oh, they're not cheap. A good splash pad's around $1 million.
And the
So,
plumbing is a huge maintenance.
yeah.
so-
Well, no, the splash pad is part of the redevelopment of the park, but there are lots of different avenues that we put together to cover different areas of the park, the layout and the design of the park. Playground equipment was just part of it, which is where she comes into play here. So,
When we were kids, we just took a garden hose and had fun. I'm just saying, it didn't cost anything.
yeah, but we're also a municipality. We're not,
No, but
backyard.
I
so-
think we agree today that the commission agree that we need to do something. Of course, it has to be affordable. We can't build castles down there, but I talked to town manager today about that we should have an electric outlet, so when we have musical events that we can run them without generators.
Yeah.
Well, to simplify this whole thing, we have an entire plan we put in place.
Yeah, let's
we went to
revisit
other
the whole.
municipalities and we got all the grants involved to fund all of this and put it all together. It was handed again to the commission and to Commissioner Kishim to deal with over the last 2 years. So it's here. It just needs brought back to the commission. It needs cleaned up to make sure the grants are still available. It needs a fresh set of eyes on it to freshen it up because it's been sitting in the closet for 2
We'll have
years.
to resubmit it.
Yeah, we'll have to
She could
resubmit a
update
whole
the-
bunch to it to get it cleaned
update
up.
the, financials on it.
Could we have, does Commissioner Kashim, does she have any comments on this?
Commissioner Kashim, do you have any comments regarding 9.8?
Talk into that mic. I don't think, no, she can hear.
Commission, it's just there's a delay, that's the problem.
It's half around the planet, so.
Well, I think we all agree that we need to.
Yeah, revisit the whole thing.
But
and-
there's no
Bring
reason
it
to
forward.
go deep into this because we spent it's such a huge amount of time putting this together.
I have
You
the
just need to
package.
look over it, kind of freshen it up, work with the grant writer. She has literally had one city that gave me all their grant information on how they rebuilt their park and
All right, we'll bring you up.
Yeah, let's not reinvent the wheel. We
No.
have the reports,
Tamarack.
we have
Thank you.
the studies. Let's move on with it.
Yeah, we'll represent it to this commission, updated with modern numbers, and that's the reason why I invited Natalia to come tonight, because for some reason,
Yeah.
this whole thing got mothballed. And Mr. Williams and I have talked about it, the fact that we have all these great ideas, and somebody put them in a closet and locked the doors.
Yeah, now
Now it's time to,
We've had quite a turnover of personnel here over
Yeah.
the last 2 years. And
So something is excusable, but let's move forward now because there seems to be an agreement to do so.
we'll
all we
bring,
need is direction. So
we'll bring it back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Natalia.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes,
Natalia.
Of course.
So,
That's you.
Town Manager Lynch.
The next time, 9.9 has to do with ARPA funds. And essentially, the reason it's important for us to at least have this discussion now is that we're required by the federal government to have a presentation to them as to what it is that's been approved by the legislative body. Now, Mr. Williams and I have been talking about this list, which the rumors were that it was originally created by Aleem. And I talked to the mayor, and she said, no, it was originally created by somebody else. And I've attached that. It's in your backup. That just gives you a general idea of how we'd like to proceed with the distribution and spending of those funds. The problem is that there's nothing on the record that shows that this commission has affirmatively voted to say, we like this list generally. So what I'm going to ask you to do tonight is, you've got the updated list. that's not set in stone. So I'm going to ask this commission to do is this will come up on March 13th, but whatever details you have to tweak on that list, communicate with me before March 13th, and then that list will come up for a vote of the commission. But we have to be able to tell the federal government, the people that control the purse strings, the legislative body, our commission, has in fact looked at the list and put their imprimatur on it by virtue of a vote. And then we can move forward and we got to start spending this money. That's the main thing. In Washington, there's a mood right now that if there's money that's been sent out to you that you haven't spent yet,
They take it
we're going to
back.
try to take it back. And we have to fight. We have to fight that concept. And one of the ways we can fight it is by making sure we have an actual vote. And by the way, there are a number of things on that list. Some, we can move $100,000 to column A instead of column B and vice versa. But either way, come March 13th, we've got to get a vote. So please contact my office. The finance director is in full compliance with the federal government's requirements. And he's gesticulating because I think he wants to approach the dais for a
Yes,
moment.
please.
Now, I've also got something to say after our last trip to DC. I've been harping on if we don't lose this, we're going to lose. If we don't use it, we're going to lose it for a very long time. And there's no reason that we should have had these funds sitting here as long as we have. Bill and I had sat here and discussed the AC and duct and you want to bash your. We have beat this dead horse so much that there's nothing left to it. We've had discussion after discussion, and it goes nowhere.
But didn't some of that money also go to the repairs or reestablishing of the AC system or?
No, it was slated. We were putting a couple $100,000 over to overhaul the system because all 3 floors ducts that we'd had, and then we had quotes that were from $400,000 to $850,000 or so. Then we had they brought forward that we needed to replace that entire building over in Behan Park, and they were trying to tell us it was going to be $850,000 for you and me. Were going in the construction business. That's what I remember for that tiny little building.
$800,000 toilet.
Yeah, exactly. So it was one of these situations, but we had a list put together of what to use the money for. We gave the town direction to use the money. In fact, we're supposed to buy equipment like
Backhoe.
Bobcat and
Backhoe and
trailers and all sorts of other stuff was supposed to
sewer
be
jet.
purchased out of this. And law enforcement, it was open. Law enforcement was supposed to be used. So the police department, we were supposed to use a lot of this for that as well. BSO fire truck is in here. That's
The ambulance was
Yeah.
another.
Yeah, there was. I can't tell you how many times we've sat up here discussing the ARPA funds. We've given the town manager, not you, sorry,
Okay, sorry.
previous town managers direction to get things done, and nothing ever gets done. This is the town of great ideas with zero follow through on anything.
Mr. Chairman, for a minute, I want to defer to Mr. Williamson because we have spent some of the ARPA money and he's familiar with that expenditure. Chandler, could you talk about that for a moment?
Mayor Commission, Vice Mayor Commission, we spent, I think, about $450,000
Spent $400,000 approximately.
for the police department already, and we've done some smaller repairs throughout the building that will complement the third floor full renovation. So we've utilized just probably less than 1% of the entire batch of money that we have. So we've kind of chipped away at it over the last probably 6 to 7 to 8 months, maybe a year, including the police department purchases. But as the town manager alluded to, these funds could be on the chopping block if we don't rapidly start pushing out the expenditures and getting the RPs done to get moving, even with the purchases, which are simpler than the RP reconstruction. We can just go out and purchase. That's on this list. So it's very important that we push this forward now. Yeah.
One of the things I had on the list was
Just hang a second there. I would like to hear Finance Director Davermann.
I just wanted to provide more context to press upon the commission the importance of getting this money out of the door. We have approximately $2.8 million in funds left. We originally received $3.2 million. We have to have all the funds obligated by the end of April, which is why we'd like to have the commission align with us on how to spend those funds so that we can have the official authorization to move the money out of the door. But I've been working with our grant manager over in DC. We're currently in compliance. They understand the situation that we've been in terms of the turnover that we've had in the town and some of the delays we've had getting projects off the ground, but they're willing to listen to us. And again, we have until the end of April to obligate those funds and start getting them out of the door. And so that is why we're all here. So I just wanted to give you some additional color as to what we had left and what's been spent already and how we intend to move forward and get these projects rolling. Thank you.
Please,
Yeah,
thank you.
there's-
Sir.
Thank you. There's a lot of issues. We got 191 trip hazards just down Hollandale Beach Boulevard. We have non-handicap accessible curbs. We have phone poles and utility poles right in the middle of the sidewalk where you can't get around it in multiple locations throughout the town. There is so much work that needs done here in Pembroke Park that it's just stagnant.
No, I totally agree. And our town looks tired. When you look at our installations, that's honoring our fallen and so forth, everything looks tired and not maintained to the highest standard. So, yeah, I think we should.
And in here as well, Restoration Third Floor Emergency Operations Center, we had an entire plan put in place that I will meet with both the town managers to discuss, which involves relocating the building department to the third floor. And all the plans are here in town for it. We've literally put this entire thing together. There's no here's what happened. We come in and then the previous town manager didn't want to address, we need to re-engineer it. We need to do this. That can just kept getting kicked down the road as we were spending more and more ridiculous amounts of money re-engineering stuff that didn't need re-engineered because he didn't know how to handle it and deal with it. It cost the town a great deal of money. 30th, the sewer line, is it 30th? 30th, that keeps collapsing. That sewer line we could have replaced. We've spent more money doing emergency repairs when we could have replaced the whole thing already.
I agree, and we find out that we still have septic tanks. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Well, I will tell you, if you go back even farther, at one point, Broward was moving from east to west across Broward County, moving everything from septic to sewer. Again, this is before I was here, before Bill was here. And the town of Pembroke Park slept on it, and the county moved right over the top of Pembroke Park and left us behind because no one here would do anything to address that. So now it's on us. We rezone that entire area. We've put money into engineering and redevelopment for that area. We've got, again, all these plans. I worked diligently getting these together so we could move this town forward. But again, it's sat stagnant for 2 years.
But now we have proper staff, we have good management.
Yeah, we're getting to where we can get going.
I think it's a completely new start. So, and I don't think there's anybody in the commission today that disagree on the direction.
All right.
What would you like to do?
13th.
What would you like to do with this?
Actually, we don't need any action on this. You will see this on the agenda on March 13th, but I want to make sure the commissioners contact my office so that that final ARPA list is one that you've had an opportunity to tweak and address these things. The reason it's urgent is for all these years since the ARPA funds came down, the commission never passed a formal motion. Commissioner Jacobs talks about we've given direction. We need a formal motion or passage of a resolution, which will be on the agenda March 13th, because that's what the federal government's looking for. And
I got
that'll
a
satisfy the
recommendation to make.
requirements. Yeah.
My recommendation is every commissioner meet with Chandler and Dave and have a discussion on these projects and anything else that you may see that the town needs or needs addressed. I have all the history on a lot of this stuff, so I can sit down with the two of you and point you in the right direction where it should
Sure.
be here in the town if the documents are still here in the town and haven't been destroyed. But there was a lot of effort and a lot of work put into a lot of these items. So I'll have that discussion with you later, but I recommend each commissioner before the next meeting so we can vote and
Get
pass
moving.
a solid
Yeah,
statement.
we'll be ready to go on
Get
the
this
13th.
thing moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right.
Chandler, where are we at with the bathrooms in this building?
That would be included once you approve the ARPA funds. That would be one of the major projects that we'll be doing on the first, second, and third floor.
and hot water too.
So we haven't put anything off of
Oh,
bids.
well, we could also get some
we've
secondhand gold toilets from one of the Trump
We've
towers.
slightly upgraded just for usage because we have some folks coming up to the third floor that's in the police department. So we've replaced some toilets, et cetera. They're certainly not ADA compliant at this moment, but as soon as you approve these ARPA funds, I can assure you we're going to rapidly increase our RFPs going out the door for construction and renovation.
Very good. Any other questions to 9.9? Kashim? Sean?
Do you have any comments for 9.9? No.
All right. Sorry for disturbing you watching a local movie. 9.10, discussion and possible action to implement speed cameras. Manager Lynch?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the school zones in this town, it's shocking that we haven't had a more serious response to the way that people drive in our school zones. I provide you with a speed study that indicates, on average, during the school zones, half of the drivers that go through the school zones in the morning and in the afternoon, dismissal of the children, half of them are going more than 11 miles an hour over the 15-mile-an-hour limit. In other words, half of them are going 27 miles an hour or faster. It's shocking. The legislation before you is merely enabling legislation. It's not implementing legislation, but it recognizes the fact that we can do something about it and do something about it at zero cost to the town, but making sure that the constitutional protections that Commissioner Jacobs has talked about are in place, because we're only limiting any of the enforcement whatsoever to the school zones. But right now, it's shocking. An individual who travel in the morning and also in the late afternoon have had the experience of going 15 miles an hour and then having your doors blown off by somebody going much faster. And by the way, this is personal to me. I have a friend whose 11-year-old daughter was killed in a school zone as a result of these drivers that just put the priority of them getting from A to B above the lives of our children. And this implementing legislation empowers our police department to work with the town manager's office to find the right contract. And so if this is passed on March 13th, and I hope that it will, then following up to that will be legislation to identify the appropriate private company that can undertake this. So if you have questions about the details of how that works, that's not for tonight. That will come. We can have that when we discuss the contract. We're merely asking you to embrace the concept that we're going to go out and do something as it relates to these school zones.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you.
If I may just add two other comments, Mr. Vice Mayor, on this item, the direction contained within this particular item will be direction to my office to bring back an ordinance, and there is a form ordinance that's been circulated which will speak to this particular issue. In 2023, there were some legislative changes that address speeding in school zones in particular. I just wanted to state for the record that any information that's collected through these cameras cannot be used for all general law enforcement purposes. And there are certain limitations on what that data can be used for, specific as it relates to speeding or other instances that may occur that are incidental to speeding in school zones.
Do I
But there've been-
understand it that way, that if somebody's fined, then that's over? If they have any outstanding arrest or something, you cannot do anything?
Well, if somebody's pulled over and they have an outstanding arrest warrant, they can still be detained pursuant to that warrant. But these cameras can't be used for general surveillance purposes. Is really they're not. There's some. You may be familiar with license plate readers, the LPRs. There's different things you can use an LPR camera for than you can a school zone speed camera. So this is not general surveillance. This is limited to a specific purpose under the recently amended
To
state
save
law.
some kids' lives.
As someone who's written research papers on this topic alone and put a statewide photo enforcement program together, this is one area that I consider myself pretty deep rooted in. The photo enforcement is much different than LPRs. The major difference is when the camera goes off here, it's because a violation occurred. With an LPR records all data going through. No violation or not, it records all data. This is the big difference between the two of these. This has a trigger set at 11 miles per hour. So if you go through 11 miles per hour over the posted speed limit. So when you go through and you trigger it, it traps your data, but you committed an actual violation of the law. Then it goes through the processes, whoever the company happens to be ATS or, one of the major corporations out there that do speed enforcement. But the governor in 2003 passed legislation approving speed enforcement cameras specifically in school zones. So only in school zones. And the police department, in the process of putting the police department together, this was one topic that went along with the construction of the police department, was putting these into the school zone. We were waiting for the governor to pass that legislation. I believe it came in June. You guys were elected in April, and everything in the police department had changed at that point. So, but this was specific for school zones. This is now our second study that we've had done on the school zones. This one's actually, the other study showed more cars speeding through the school zones than had on this one.
It's totally unacceptable, and we need to do everything we can.
But it's 100% for safety of the children in our school zones. That is what this program is for. This is not a revenue generating program, as most people will come out and hash the town and beat you down for. They're going to say you're out there just trying to generate revenue for your town. That's not what these are for. These are 100% for safety.
There are no excuses for speeding in a school zone. End of story. I mean, we need to do whatever we can to enforce the safety our children,
RFP,
and whatever we need to do to move on with it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask you that two things take place for the purposes of consent. One, that the ordinance that the town attorney was describing appear on March 13th, and as the chief, the deputy chief, and myself together evaluate the different companies and programs that are out there, if it can be done consistent with proper procurement practices, to have that measure in front of the commission on March 13th as well. But that's what I'm looking for tonight.
Thank you.
Okay?
Consent to
consent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry, if it would be an ordinance, it would not be on consent. Yeah, it'd be on an
We're going to
ordinance.
make you do all the work in 2 weeks. You can do it.
We'll get the ordinance done.
Number 10, attorney comments.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Oh, yes, sir.
Can I address the commission briefly?
Yes, you may. No objections?
The lobbyist comments?
Yeah. David Sigerson, town consultant. Excuse me. I just wanted to briefly address you, since you won't be probably seeing me until May, since the legislative session will be starting next week.
Oh, boy.
I want to first say that your assistant town manager has been on 2 very successful missions to Tallahassee, where we have met with every significant legislator on the various appropriations subcommittees. He has had the privilege of meeting with the Senate Big Appropriations Committee Chair, Senator Hooper, and that in the purposes of advancing our legislative budget requests, and that we feel we're very good about where we are with it, where more work needs to be done, and there's a lot of sort of intramural politics going on between the governor and the Senate and the president and the House Speaker, and the Speaker has made it clear that legislative budget requests have ballooned and that they're going to be smaller. So expectations generally around the state for for legislative budget requests are being tamped down somewhat, but we are still full speed ahead on our appropriations requests, and we will continue to pursue those. I would also like to say that all of our budget requests have been now submitted and have numbers or a leafer number in the Senate, and I forget what I guess it's an AR number in the House, so that they are out there in the public, which makes it easier to talk to legislators about them because they can access them directly from their computers. Also, the Broward Days is the 18th and 19th. I'd like to know if known who all the manager, assistant manager. You're Eric. Okay, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor.
No, I'm preferred.
Okay, so that helps me plan, and the other members of the team will plan to, of course, Broward Days itself has a lot of activities that are really worthwhile for you all to participate in, but we'll also mix in some meetings, some appropriate meetings that will be helpful to the cause. Although Chandler has been excellent in presenting the town's position, I think elected officials always like to see an elected official, Eric. So we're hopeful to get you some meetings.
They can change their mind later.
After they meet you? Yeah. Anyway, so that's kind of where we are with all of that. Also, I might add that I monitor the county commission meeting the other day, where they, after much discussion and much back and forth, they passed the Monarch Hill landfill expansion. This is a kind of a big deal. I mean, unless you live in Deerfield or Coconut Creek. They're expanding the horizontal expansion of 24 acres to make the base wider, and they're going to go up another 200 feet.
Yeah.
So this is going to provide for solid waste, household and solid waste tipping for a very long time. I don't remember them discussing how many years, but
No,
Highest point in Florida, right?
yes, it will be.
it's unfortunately not many years we get out of it, but it does give a solid waste authority time to develop other systems to
Exactly.
whatever solution is
Exactly.
chosen.
And I think that's what, and Senator Geller was sort of leading the charge in favor of approval, and was very forceful in his comments about how there needs to, and I think Beam Furt was also saying the same thing, is that, because he's very active with the solid waste advisor, or whatever it's called, the board.
Waste authority.
Solid waste board, excuse me, that they need more time than the life in its current configuration has about 6 years left, and so nobody that I heard testifying and providing evidence suggested that in 6 years they could have the problem solved without expanding the landfill. So
No, and then there's also, because in case of a hurricane, we will have no capacity.
correct.
Anyway, it's a problem that can have been kicked down the road for many years, and now is here to bite us.
That's right. One last thing. I went to the legislative delegation workshop with the Broward League of Cities yesterday, and the League of Cities has laid out sort of 3 important issues that they are focusing on, and I think that we, as a member of that group, should also. I would have picked them as priorities. I mean, the league has about a dozen or so priority issues or policy statements. But the 3 that really stand out are the sovereign immunity bill, which would raise the sovereign immunity limits to $1 million and $3 million, from 200 and 300,000. That's a huge increase. Now, obviously, you can get insurance for that, but it's going to cost a ton for that insurance. That's number 1. There's also a bill in the legislature that would eventually eliminate the local business tax. That is something that we should fight against as well. And then the third one is that they, as you have heard, the governor and members of the legislature are toying around with the idea of eliminating property taxes.
Yeah.
So those 3 are kind of the big 3. There's others, but those are the big 3, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's
Eliminating property taxes, if it wasn't owner occupied, it'd be a free for all for investors, and Floridians could never afford a home.
Yeah, well, it's
It just investors would come in.
yeah, it's something like
would be
$60
the end of-
billion statewide is collected in property taxes. You'd have to raise the sales tax by like 15 cents over what it is now in order to raise that kind of money. So
Municipalities they're the ones that feel it the most.
Yep. Oh,
That would be-
100%.
It would be the end of home rule. We understand.
For the end of municipalities. I mean,
That's their goal. That's been their end goal for a really long time.
No,
I'm afraid Commissioner Jacobs is probably right.
I think they see the same thing.
So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you think of some later, just email me or call me and or if there's an issue that you've heard about and you want more information about, let me know. I'll find out about it and let you know.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
I have nothing, Mr. Vice Mayor. Thank
That surprises me.
you. I can come up with something if you like.
Okay.
No
Town
news, no
manager,
news is good news for the
comments?
town.
Yeah, actually, I don't really have any comments except for to mention that all the proclamations that were listed in paragraph 5 will now appear on March 13th agenda. And in addition to that, written monthly reports have been provided to this body. I only have 3 department heads here right now. That is the police chief, the service director, and the finance director. Given where we are in the process of this meeting, since Jeff is on vacation for our building department, if this commission doesn't have any objections, I'll just ask him to double up at the next meeting and ask you to waive the reports for tonight.
13th.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
Hold on.
Why is the meeting on the 13th?
It's on a Thursday?
Yes, because originally some of the town commissioners were going to the NOC and attending Hill Day on
Gotcha.
12, so
Okay.
we moved it to the
Yep.
13th.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure that no one on this commission objects if I have the reports doubled up at the next workshop when Jeff will be back anyhow. So we know we'll waive any further reports tonight. Is that okay?
Anybody on the dais have a
And-
problem? Kashim, does he have any comments?
Commissioner Kasham.
Comment still.
Yeah, and she can give her comments right away when she's.
I know you wanted to speak. You have the floor.
Oh, she wanted to talk about this, yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Hope everything is doing well. At first, I want to talk about 9.8. I heard Commissioner Jacob use my name, but I could not hear him properly because the time delay or technological issues or something. All I can say, if there is any suggestions or advice, please bring in the commissions. If it is a good for our city, I will love to work together. End of the day, I believe we all want this.
I think we agree on that.
Now I want to talk about the sister city programs. I want to give you guys a little update. As may you know, we are in the process of establishing a friendship agreement between our cities. However, there has been a significant delay, and I want to ensure that everyone is aware of the reason behind this. Currently, Bangladesh is under a caretaker government, which has resulted in slower government process. The situation is affecting the speed at which the necessary approvals are being obtained. In addition, Bangladesh follows British law, which means their procedures differ from ours here in Pembroke Park, causing further delays. Typically, when establishing a sister city agreement, the cities involved will first exchange draft emails outlining the proposed agreement. Following this, it is sent to the legal advisor department for review. If there are no legal issues, the process moves forward. However, in this case, the final decision for international agreements must be approved by the Foreign Ministry. As of now, we are still waiting for their response. I just wanted to keep the Commission informed of these developments, and I appreciate your understanding and patience as we work through this process. I will continue to follow up and keep everyone updated on any further progress. Thank you.
Thank you. You got more?
Feel free to modify if it's needed. This speech. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, that will be all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Please bring back some good curry recipes.
Godspeed.
All right. Commissioner Jacobs.
A lot of the stuff that was brought forward, we've already spent thousands and thousands of dollars. Bill, you were a huge part of developing some of these programs and getting this town back going forward again. With the change in staffing, change in the commission, I'm not pointing the fingers at anyone in particular, but all the progress stopped. All the work that was put forth came to a stop. And here we are bringing them all back up again to discuss all the same things over and over again. Just like when you got here, we were still dealing with issues from 10 years before you and I even got elected here, trying to clean out all of this stuff and get the town going forward. I think the town is in a much better position today than it's ever been in its history with the staff that we currently have in place. I see that we're bringing in more staff and making vast improvements around here on the day-to-day. So I'm very happy to see that. I'm happy to see the direction Chandler and Dave Lynch have the town going. And I'm happy to say that Chandler's not afraid to fly with me anymore.
Thank you very much. Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins?
Yeah, in reference to that, I'm glad to see the town moving forwards on a lot of issues that just got kind of back burner. They put them on the back burner, wherever that was. So anyway, we're moving forwards, and it's a good thing. And we got a good team now. I'm happy with the team that we have, and I hope we just stay progressive. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you so much for coming. I only have a short comment, and is I'm very optimistic about the future because of these very good staff we have hired, and we can always feel the difference. Thank you very much. I have some announcements. The regular commission meeting will be Thursday, March 13 at 7 p.m. Special magistrate hearing Wednesday, March 19, and that will be at 9 a.m. Workshop commission meeting Wednesday, March 26 at 6 p.m. Some members of the Town Commission and staff are attending the National League of Cities conference in Washington, D.C., March 9 to through March 12. That will be all. Adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Adjourn. Thank you. Thank you for coming, everybody.